Mm, 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 mm. And it is here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Slide to the left. Have a quick turnaround time from TikTok Live. Okay. Gonna get ready with our emotional regulation. You'll inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale on my descending count of 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. All right, coming back in frame. Hello, Daisy. So long since I've seen you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers, and I am the daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, the granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Eva II, and the great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Good morning, Envy. If you haven't gotten the message, know that do not renew on Instagram. Go cancel your subscription, and when it's up on Instagram, go to TikTok. Instagram still hasn't answered my request about a wait list that I never put people on, that I never signed up for, and there's been glitches. People haven't been able to get into other broadcast channels, and so I don't have time for their technical ineptness. So we are on TikTok. I will be on Instagram until November 7th, 18th, because Sean renewed. But there's content over there. There are people over there. So do not renew. All right. Today's principle of real leadership is be technically competent. Good morning, Regina. Be technically competent. You can't become your best if you are not technically competent. In anything that you are doing, you need to be technically competent in it, or don't do it. I can't dunk a basketball, so I'm not going to start trying to dunk a basketball with these old ass bones. But if I wanted to be able to dunk a basketball, I would have taught myself how to do that, because Spud Webb won the slam dunk contest back in the day. And I went to school with Earl Boykins, who was one of the shortest players to ever play in the NBA. So there has to be technical competence here if you're going to be extraordinary at anything that you decide to do as a real leader. Technical competence is how you get there. And the only way to gain technical competence is to go to the dentate gyrus, get you some new neurons, and go off and make a bunch of mistakes until you get it and you create that neural pathway. So you need to create the neural pathway of technical competence, so that when it's time for you to learn anything, you tap into your technical competence, and now you can go off and learn those things. And everybody's learning curve is different. And as an educator, Regina, you know that. Some children pick it up immediately. Some children don't pick it up immediately. And then once they get it, it's on and popping. So what does it mean, according to me, to be technically competent? I'm glad you asked, Dr. Donna. To be technically competent means you have actually mastered the specific knowledge, skills, tools, and processes required to lead in your domain. Not just the titles, not just the talk, not just the theory. So what happens is, and I just got off TikTok Live with somebody who told me about their 2 degrees. And so I had a very good example as to, just because you have degrees doesn't mean you are smart. And it doesn't mean you have sense. Those two don't match. There are plenty of people with degrees that are dumb as a box of rocks and can't read their way out of a wet paper bag. So that's not an indication of smarts. What it is an indication of you went somewhere and you did the work that was given to you and you passed. But if you are not technically competent, then it doesn't matter. And so the other thing is, because I have a doctorate in education and I had to do a dissertation, my degree is an EDD. Now, PhDs are philosophy degrees, and most of those people end up in labs and in schools, and they teach. And so they are very philosophical. Publish or perish is their mantra. And so that doesn't indicate that you are technically competent. I'm going to use a personal example, as I always do. I went to school with somebody. I was in ROTC with that person. He took ROTC for 2 years because that was mandatory, 2 years of some type of PE. And then he got out. And then he went to school and he graduated with a bachelor's degree, and he had one supply chain job for 1 year. And then he went back to school, and now he has a PhD in supply chain. We are not the same. I ran a traffic center. I was a manufacturer in food and beverage for almost 10 years. Good morning, Jared. He had one job for 1 year in supply chain, but he has a PhD and is now publishing some articles years later because we are the same age. He is not an expert in supply chain. He can teach you about supply chain, but he has never been on the receiving end of, I just broke down and I ran out of hours. You said what now? You just broke down and you ran out. How you run out of hours on a run that you have plenty of hours for? We'll see what it. Okay, fuck it. Now, I got to find a driver who has hours. I got to get another tractor, and I got to get that load to the Adale hub so Perry, Georgia can do the exchange. That's a real life experience. That's not some, well, theoretically, what happens with the supply chain is such. The potatoes don't come on time. And the potatoes that do come got wet breakdown. The fuck you gonna do when you in push week? That's real supply chain issues. Not in theory, raw materials come in, you turn them into finished goods, and you send them to the marketplace. I just got pulled over for a DOT violation. My doggone fifth wheel don't work. Now I got to get a mechanic to you. I got to send a driver with the mechanic and another tractor so that load can get to Detroit on time. So they can go all the way to Perry, Georgia, because you came through the exchange, because they got a driver that then ran out of hours. That's technical competence. That's the difference. So people who teach it and who haven't lived it are not the same. So when people say, yeah, so no, that's not enough. You have to have the competence, especially when it's time to solve problems. And that means that you have to have the working memory. And before I went to the traffic center, no, I did not have the fucking working memory of a traffic center. I did not know what a fifth wheel was. I had no idea what a Peterbilt was or a Freightliner. I didn't know what a cab over was. I didn't know none of that shit. But when I got there, I had to become very technically competent in it. I did not know what a KDEC was. I did not know if you're 3.1 on a KDEX or more for your run, that now you need to be written up because you were speeding during your run. I didn't know what it meant to cube out a trailer. I had no idea what a bin was versus a distribution center. I didn't understand what an opti-sorter was. I had no idea what slurry mix is in the season and accumulation under the bag and all. I didn't know what end seals and back seals were, none of that. But I became very technically competent. Now, did I need to know all of that to do my job? No, but I was there and the information was there. And so now I can use that information growing forward. So that is why you need to become technically competent. Wherever you are, you need to know how that whole thing functions, how it functions. So nobody can lie to you and say, well, see, what happened was, and no. I know how all this functions. So I had the pick order sequence memorized when I was at Sterling Heights. And when the pick order system, ICS Junior, went down, and we couldn't figure out the orders, I had the sequence memorized, and I said, here, in this spot right here is 299 lays, and so we're going to pick on paper. And I redrew how we was going to get that shit done from memorizing the pick sequence, because when I fired people, I had to work on the floor for 4 months while I was getting people back into the system again. So technical competence is very important. When Nola first started on TaskRabbit, and I think I've told this story before, she was doing just IKEA. And that frightened couch frightened the shit out of me. I'm like, I don't understand this. So after we left every appointment, at one point, we had a stack of IKEA manuals this big because she kept getting booked for the same things over and over again. I was like, you're going to have to know what's in this manual. You're going to have to understand this hardware and all this other stuff. You are going to have to understand this. We talked to Carl at Home Depot at 6 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Carl, I think he used to run his own hardware store, because Carl was like, well, you're mounting a TV? What kind of wall is it? Well, come on over here. You need to do this. We were everywhere. At appointments, we see somebody doing something. A gentleman named Carol taught Nola how to mount curtains. He was like, no, you got to use this screw. You got to use a pilot hole. You need this drill bit and all this stuff. So all these things that she know how to do now is because every time we went to appointment, hey, what's that drill? What you using over there? What's your stud finder? Stud finder suck. You can't find a good one. You end up with 4 or 5 of them motherfuckers. But hey, it is what it is. So it's technical competence. It's not just some theory shit. And as we read on my LinkedIn profile, I'm the person that's taking theory and making it into practical application. Hence, that's why you are students of real leadership are here today. Because it's easy to say some shit in the classroom, in a training room. But how does that shit translate into everyday life? When I was at Frito-Lay, I was a continuous improvement master trainer. There were certain things that we had to do in the continuous improvement training, and you had to state it just like this. And it was packers and warehouse people, and then truck drivers when I was at the traffic center, and they would look at me like, so what does that mean? I got it. You know how when you're on line 47 and this, they're like, oh, okay, I understand now, because that's theory, and that's written for the whole company, but that wasn't written for the Orlando plant, which is one of the oldest plants in the organization. So technical competence says I can take this very highbrow, high brain shit and turn it into something palatable for you so you get it, so you can implement it. It doesn't make sense to show people how smart you are if they can't implement what you're saying. So technical jargon is not technical competence. They really suck. Right, NOLA has 4. And it doesn't matter. We've seen people sit them on a thing with the laser, the $300 ones and everything. And the reason why the reason why stud finders suck is because construction people bid shit at one way and build it another way. So you could, in theory, studs should be 16 inches or 24 inches apart. And NOLA then had it, then put the stud finder there, pulled out the doggone measuring tape, and she over there with the magnetic stud finder none of that. False reads, telling you it's electrical. You go look on the other side of the wall, ain't a light switch, a plug, you're like, ain't shit on the other side of this wall. Oh my goodness. Yes, and one thing that people are now doing in these new apartments here, in these luxury apartments, is they are putting a breaker box in the primary master bedroom on the other side of the living room wall where they want the TV mounted. Make it make sense. You said what? People mounting the doggone TV stands underneath the TV, and on the other side of the wall is the breaker box for the whole damn apartment. Not in the closet, not in the laundry room, in the motherfucking primary bedroom behind the door. On the other side of the wall where the TV is supposed to go. Good morning. Horrible decision. Tell us about it. And they're like, and I want it right there, center of the wall. And now we had to explain to them, you want electricity or you want your, because it could be center of the wall. It just ain't gonna fucking work. It's not gonna work at all. It's gonna look like a frame. That's what it's gonna look like. Insane. The way they so yeah, that's why it's not working. It's not working because when they bid it, this lab and plaster, anyway, we had to learn all that. I didn't know what lab and plaster was 5 years ago, had no fucking clue. Cutting coins, corners, and everything else. We're sitting there like, so there's a stud right there in the corner, and there's another stud in the kitchen. If you want it on this wall, remember how you said you wanted it to be, yes, cutting coins too. They cutting the coins so they could keep it. That's what I thought you meant. So yeah, technical competence is very, 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 very important. We have come behind many a person. They said, well, see, what happened was I had booked another task and they left and they took the manual and a couple pieces with them too. So what can you do? At one time we put a client tried to put a 9-drawer dresser together, and that thing, when we got to it, was swaying in the house like the wind was blowing. Strip screws and everything else. So it is it's never a dull day. Never a dull day. That's what I will say. But the technical competence. So this is not about titles. This is not about being able to talk. And this is not about theory. This is about, are you going to do what you said you could do? Because you said you could do it. And what I'm finding more and more, the older I get, is people got a little bit of technical competence and a lot of fucking ego wrapped around that little bit. Well, see, no, what I was saying was, I didn't mean when you can have no, because see how we did it. Well, y'all on that system? Oh, no. See, we was on that. Be quiet. People start talking about they the CVP or the RVP or the J. Okay, cool. So what exactly is it that you do? Well, I make sure that the interest rates are good on the credit cards. I'm the senior VP of the such and such of Chase Bank. So what does that mean? Well, we monitor the interest rates on the credit cards that the banks give out. I make six figures. Congratulations. We need that. Monitoring of the APR rates on the credit cards that Chase Banks gives out. That's a very important senior VP position to have. Got it. That's actually somebody's job. I'm not lying. That was a client. He was a gamer in his part-time though. So he didn't have to go into the office but a couple times a month. And so while we were there, him and his team were gaming and beating people online. All right. So he was technically competent. He made about $500 while we were there. Real leaders can perform, apply, and execute at a level that earns trust without introduction. So we can perform, apply, and execute at a level that earns trust without introduction. Still to this day, with as many 5-star reviews as Nola has, with as many projects as she has, people will hire her and still have doubt. And we always know when they have doubt because we can feel it. They may even say something like, "You're smaller than I thought in person," or something like that. But then they come in and check. And then they say, "You guys need any water? You need anything? You're hungry? You need anything?" No, we're good. That's our indication that they knew they was wrong. And now they're coming offering snacks and stuff, especially new people. Older people just give us stuff just because. So with technical competence, you are not guessing. You are not winging it. You are not delegating what you don't understand. You can do it correctly, consistently, and on demand. That's what you can do. Yesterday, Nola had a family that normally puts their Christmas stuff together in November, did it yesterday, and we couldn't understand why, but they're taking a family trip. So they want the inside of the house decorated in time for when they get back. We'll do the outside stuff when they get back. So she said, we had to put 6 things together, these animated toys that scared the shit out of me. I hate doing it. The Halloween and Christmas, I don't care. I don't like the toy soldiers and the Minnie Mouses and shit looking at me because the head is in the box by itself. It looks like a crime scene. So anyway, she said, when we finish, I got to help him put this wreath together. Very nice couple. And so I said, "Put the wreath together." Nola stood that thing up. He's short as her. The damn wreath was almost tall as them. I ain't never seen a wreath that big in my whole life. It came in 4 different pieces and had to be drilled together. Huge wreath. Never seen that. But no doubt, he had no doubt in his mind that she could help him do that. So people know, they're like, "Okay, I know who can do this." And sometimes she gets messages for things and they're like, somebody messaged her the other day and said, "Can you cut the granite out of the top of our kitchen sink because we want to move it?" She was like, "No, I don't cut granite." Yes, those scary dowel heads in the box, but yeah. So it was 5 feet by 5 feet. It was a 5-foot wreath. That thing was huge. And she put it together. He said, "I need help." She put it together because that's technical competence. Now, there was a time when none of the things that nope, I don't think there's an appointment that she's had in 2025 she could have did in 2021. At the efficiency, the speed, the accuracy, there's absolutely no way. And the changes that now clients, this customizableness that even in the appointments, even when they order these closet systems, these pack systems and everything else, they're like, "Dang, no, let's move it around." So everything you thought you was getting ready to do gets flip-flopped and switched. That's how you know you have technical competence. So you can do it correctly, consistently, and on demand. Now, how do you get there? One day at a time. One day at a time. She's 2,500 appointments in. That's how you get there. You cannot shortcut life hack 25 appointments. The only way to get better at putting beds together is to put beds together. And Lola, you know this. The only way to build better houses is to build better houses. And keep putting up drywall and keep putting faucets in, keep putting carpet down, all that. That's the only way you are going to become technically competent. You cannot magically go to sleep, take some magnesium before you go to sleep, eat some blueberries, some salmon, some walnuts, and some magnesium tablets, and wake up, throw a little B12 in there so you can get your energy up, and then wake up and you're going to magically be technically competent. It's not going to happen. And that's why people enter into falsity and bargains. That's why people partner up. When I was working with small business owners, everybody wanted to partner with Dr. Donna until it was time to do their part. Then they didn't want to do their part. I blocked many people on Twitter behind that shit, presenting themselves as this, "Well, what our company does, and we always, all right, bet. I'm a solopreneur. Let's go do this." And then I find myself doing all the damn work. People saying they had corporate jobs. All right, cool, bet. So when you was in your corporate job, you did, "Well, no, see, I was in marketing." Okay, well, let's do the marketing part. Well, no. See, what we did was inside marketing. It was basically from organization to organization. And then why you present yourself as this marketing for person for station casinos, like you did the external marketing. You did the internal marketing. So when people come in the casino, they see the signs. You wasn't doing the fucking billboards as people was driving past the strip. That's not the same work. But it sounds good until it's time to get shit done. So do not lie about your technical competence. Say, here's where my expertise is. I'm learning how to do this. That's what I told y'all. I've been learning about the brain since November 2nd, 2024. That's what I've been doing every day. Learning about the brain. Learned a lot. Just found out the other day that neuroscience has only been available to the mass population in the last 10 to 15 years. So now I don't feel bad that I can't find the information. I thought they was gatekeeping it, but the information doesn't exist. So Chat and I will work together and we will make this information that you need on a daily basis exist. So if you are not technically competent, that's okay, because you can learn how to be technically competent. Everything that I know today, I did not know 15 years ago when I left my corporate job. Everything that I know about No's business, I did not know 5 years ago before she started this in February of 2021. So the moral of the story is, do not let unaccountable people tell you you can't learn something. We have people, Regina is living her best life in Act 3, and so is Lola, and so is Bridget. They're all seasoned women in the world, learning, growing, and developing new things day to day. So that's what's taking place. So it isn't an age thing. It has nothing to do. Once you get 25, you got your prefrontal cortex. Some of the research is now saying up until 28 because they're studying and studying, but I'm going to go with 25. That's been out here the longest. Once you're over 25, that's the brain that you have. So all you got to do is keep challenging yourself, learning and growing, and the competence will come. If Sean was on here, Sean is in her 50s like me, and it took her a minute to get accustomed to Instagram. Bada boom, bada bang. Lola, technically savvy now. January, no technical savviness whatsoever. So it's possible to become technically competent, but you have to put the sweat equity in. Now, drink water. This message was held for review. Indy, I don't even know why they did that. You said drink water, and it was held for review. The fuck? I'm surprised the stuff that makes it through, but drink water can't make it through. Okay. Roger that. All right. So why adults struggle with technical competence? Envy, I'm glad you asked. They rely on experience instead of evidence. I've been doing this for 20 years. Wrong. Been doing it for 20 years, wrong. So I got 20 years of experience. No, you don't. You just been doing the same thing for 20 years. That is not 20 years of experience. That's not. That ain't it. And that's what we have found, that these people who used to these people that used to move the furniture are fucking up the moves now, because they don't know how to assemble this new furniture, and they don't know how to disassemble it too. So we have gotten many a call. I'm about to move. Can y'all disassemble my shit before they come? And can you reassemble it on the other side? I don't trust the movers. Pulling shit apart, don't have the right tools to undo things, don't have the right Allen keys and all this other stuff, and they just pulling, yanking, get on the other side, all your shit is broke. Because they've been moving since 1972. They know what to do. They can pick up a piano by themselves and put it on their back, but they can't put a damn Marquee mom bed back together. All right. So they stop learning once they get the job or the title. I just said this on TikTok Live. So you get the job, you get the title, you stop learning. And it's okay, because the organization don't want you to be that smart. They want you to be smart enough to get it done, but stupid enough to stay and deal with their bullshit. So kind of like a happy little medium right there. So don't think your way at it and start saying, why the fuck are we doing this like this? Don't do that. Just keep doing it that way until they decide that change is good. And the only time you change in an organization is when profits hide pain. So until you get a bunch of customer complaints, until you start losing money to the competition, until the stock prices drop, if you're a publicly traded organization, ain't shit gonna change. Or you get a new CEO or president and somebody is trying to say, look at this initiative that I instituted, because CEOs hop companies too. They're just trying to get the best package and the best stock deals so they can enhance and advance their portfolio. Unless they're the founder of the company, they don't give a fuck about that company. And they definitely don't give a fuck about you. So they stop learning when you stop learning when you get the job or the title. Now, what happens is when you do that, in the event that there's a merger and acquisition and now you are looking for employment, you don't really have anything to put on your resume because all you did was the same exact thing for 20 years. You were the go-to person, the expert in that. And because your company didn't update anything, you don't know what the new technology is. So you are of no use to the other organizations. And then what you'll say is, this is not fair. They discriminate against me. They not hiring me. And it's ageism. It's not. If you're a bad motherfucker, it don't matter how old you are. You're going to get what you got coming to you because best is best. Now, they outsource what they don't understand. Then they pretend they understand. So they outsource it. I have seen this many a time in my time at corporate America, and even now, people act like they know. Or they say, that's stupid. They don't need to know all that. I don't need to know that to do my job. Yes, you do. So many people said computers were going away. Especially in organizations. You don't need that computer. You can do. I don't need that computer. I don't need it. Now they at the grocery store. How you use the computer? Everything is computerized now. So you outsourced your computer technical competence, and now you cannot check out and get these doggone groceries that you need. They are embarrassed to ask questions or be coached. So if you are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, you feel like you should already know. And by not asking, you just will say, oh, I can't do it. Or you like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. We don't need all that stuff over there. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's why Nola sends screenshots. That's why I've sent you screenshots and Square do all of this. The platforms are forever changing because they're apps and they need to update. So yes, you need technical competence. Adults build confidence faster than competence. You said what, Doc? I said adults build confidence faster than competence. So what happens is people believe that they're more confident than they are competent. So they tell themselves, I'm a bad motherfucker. You can't just say you're a bad motherfucker without receipts. You're going to need some receipts to back that up. You're definitely going to do it, but confidence sounds good. So that's why you have people out and about telling you, and this is what I did, and I did this, and I did it. Okay, now tell me how you did it. Crickets. That's why I don't follow anybody anymore, because nobody could tell me how they actually did it without help. Well, see, my team, as soon as I hear my team came, where your team at? Let me talk to them. I don't want to fucking talk to you no more. You said you did it. You didn't. Your team did it. Move, bitch. Get out the way. Where's your team? I need to know who did this. How'd you get this? Well, see, what happened was I hired somebody on Fiverr. What's their name? Where are they at? What's their Fiverr account? Because if you didn't make that fucking graphic, I ain't talking to you about it. Well, see, a homeboy of mine got the meeting. Where your homeboy at? What's their number? I need to talk to your homeboy if your homeboy did it. Don't be telling me that you confident that you got this whole team of people that made you be able to sit in this room. You shouldn't be sitting in the room. They should. They the one that got you there. So yeah, bunch of confidence, no competence. They confess access to information with ownership of skills. I did a business strategy series with a person who has a marketing company here. I was hoodwinked, bamboozled, ran amok, led astray, and then dragged. And so what happened was this person had been in business for a long time, and they came from a person that had a mid-sized business that ended up winning the contract for construction to make the I-11. It's a highway here that needed to make it a straight route from Las Vegas to Arizona without having to do all this other shit. So that person from the BOWD thing, when y'all saw me speak, she actually cut her hair and gave me some of her hair so I could make a wig. But anyway, she recommended this person and said he was legit. You should meet him. I said, okay, cool. So I meet him, and he has been trying to get this business thing off the ground. So BOWD was what I spoke at, and it wasn't helping people. It took too long. It was 90 days. It was cumbersome and everything else. And so I said, yeah, bet. We could make a 6-week course. No problem. So he had the physical building. He was connected to one of the offices at the chamber, and he's got the printer and all the staff and everything else. So he's bringing the logistics. I'm bringing the information. We have it. We meet with the city of Las Vegas. They say, yeah, we'll sponsor it. Got it. Boom. It's at the urban chamber once a week for 6 weeks. We did 3 iterations of it. He used all my information, and I had to send him my slides because they were printing it out at the chamber. And I started first. So I did the first week, he did the second week, I did the third week, he did the fourth week, the fifth, the sixth week. We were getting them prepared to do Shark Tank pitches to investors. And all my idea. And I got there on the first day, and he printed out the slides because they had binders and everything. And I looked, and his company logo was on my slides. The fuck is your... Oh, we just doing that for branding to make sure. Now, on the days when I taught, he wasn't there. So week 1, 3, and 5, he wasn't there. He was there on week 6 because that's when the big wig showed up. And then on the days he taught, I was there. When the 3-hour class was over and they start asking business and marketing questions, because he was bringing the marketing, I was bringing the business, he would leave and say he had a meeting. And then I would spend another 45 minutes answering both the business and the marketing questions. And when it got funded, because it was the city, and then they ended up getting NV Energy to fund it, he didn't tell me that the person from NV Energy was going to be there to decide if we were going to get funding. So he set up the meeting, and common sense would have said, have him set up the meeting on the week that he was going to be teaching. He set up the meeting the week I was teaching. And I was trying to figure out why she was there for the whole entire session. So when it was over, I said, well, what you doing here? She said, well, I'm here to see if NV Energy is going to fund this. I said, what? So I'm asking him, how the hell, why you didn't tell me? So then they give the money to the chamber, which we were supposed to get some of the money. And I didn't get any of the money. She watched me for 3 hours. She decided that, yes, this was worth funding. And then I didn't. And then the chamber kept the money, which is one of the many reasons why, yeah, I don't fuck with them no more. So I had all the technical competence. I created the 6-week business strategy series. I followed up with all the people and did everything, and then they benefited. So my technical competence, that's just one example of how many more things were happening because I was there. My technical competence made them more competent and elevated their property value and everything else. And now it's not like that anymore. So yeah, I thought that person had information and ownership, and they actually didn't. They missed, and they're still to this day misrepresenting themselves once again. Very good finagler. Get in the room, take a photo, makes it seem like you know what's happening, and they didn't know. So they consume content but never train, test, or apply it. So that's the other thing. So they have a bunch of content that they have, and they are not training people on it. They are not testing themselves, and they are not applying it, but it sounds real good on paper. So what questions do you have about why adults struggle with technical competence? They rely on old ass experience. They stop learning once they get the job or title. They outsource what they don't know. They are embarrassed to ask questions or be coached. They build confidence faster than competence. They confuse access to information with ownership of skill, and they consume content but never train, test, or apply it. Questions? Clear? Let me know. And now I'm just drinking water because I went on a run. Probably need to take a pause. Is it clear? Okay, got it. I thought I needed so and that's why I have like 241 business 101s. And a lot of the business 101s are about things that you shouldn't do, because during that time I kept coming across people they were doing all the wrong shit. I'm like, this is a business 101, this is a business 101, this is a business 101. How do you stop people from taking your work? You don't. Well, I mean, you got copyright and trademarks and all of that. But what happens is, what I learned, it was a very interesting 2 years of my life, because I remember I'm coming out of my sister relapsing, and I'm establishing myself in Las Vegas because everything was connected to her. And I hadn't gone to the things that I needed to do because my industry is different than her industry. So getting out there. So I was doing a lot. Yes, Regina, listening. So I was at when Nola first started in her business, we would be driving around. I'm like, I went to a meeting there, I went to a meeting there, I went to a meeting there. I was everywhere. I was at every chamber, networking, not working event, doing all kind of stuff, volunteering, doing every, because Vegas we call it the Mississippi of the West. It's a small, close knit group, and they do not let outsiders come in. Well, who are you? Where are you from? So it's a lot of hazing going on, a lot of bow down, bend the knee, kiss the rings, and all of that just to get access. Now I got unlimited access before it was all said and done, but it was pounding the pavement. And so what happens is they are very exploitive. And how I ended up at the Urban Chambers, because a colleague of mine said, you've done a lot, now you need to go help your people. That's how I ended up there. I did learn a lot, and I learned that, everybody don't deserve access to Dr. Donna. They don't deserve, because they didn't value and appreciate it, because they didn't have to work for it. So all these things, when I said I worked at Frito-Lay, for some reason, they never got the memo of the magnitude. So they thought maybe like I was a packer or something. Nobody ever looked at my resume, even after I handed it to the board with my 2 pages and all of that. They didn't understand the magnitude of the work that I have done. It was beyond shaking hand and kissing babies. I was at meeting. So by the time I became the strategic advisor for the Urban Chamber, I basically was running the chamber, and I was attending all the meetings that the president of the Urban Chamber couldn't attend, but wouldn't attend. So I was sitting in all kind of their corporate circle. I brought that up to standard. People ended up with contracts on the strip, all kind of things. They were pitching to investors, getting patents and all of that. I told y'all about the 4 different trade missions, the stuff that we set him up to go to South Africa. He had 48 meetings set up for a South African delegation with the governor's office of economic development. So it was big shit. It wasn't they XM Port Bank, the U.S. Black Chambers, University of Phoenix, about to get him $20,000 a month for business owners to go get business training. It was enormous big shit that was taking place. Charter the Toastmasters Club, everything, put them on the map. Yeah, that part. And so because of who I am, so I said, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this to the best of my ability. And the exchange was they were supposed to send me clients. While I was doing that, volunteering, every time they had conversations about people who needed business strategy and leadership information, they were supposed to be sending me clients. That never happened. That never took place. But they did a lot in those 2. They got a lot of credit. And when I would get things all the way to the end, a board member or somebody would move me out the way and then stand there and take credit for my work. Again and again and again. So yeah, no. Not doing that again. Learned a lot though. I got to be in a lot of rooms. The District Export Council understood the LVGVA, the LVCVA, council people, commissioners, elections, participated in those type of things as well. So I learned a lot, and I learned what to do and what not to do. I don't like it either. And I think I told y'all that. So the person that I did the business strategy series with, when the president of the Urban Chamber came back from Africa, I met with the governor's office of economic development, the South African ambassadors and all of them. I did all that work. And then the president of the Urban Chamber went to the trade missions with the governor's office of economic development. And when he got back, the Las Vegas Review-Journal was wanting to interview him. He was too sleepy to be interviewed. So I had a LinkedIn connection with the person that I did the business strategy series with. And I'm sitting in my bed and I get a notification that he has done an interview with the Review Journal talking about the trade mission in Africa, and he never sat in one meeting. And then he gave a bunch of misinformation. So I got on my phone and I woke the president of the Urban Chamber up and went up one side of him and down the other side of him. I said, how the fuck is he talking? Why didn't you tell him to call me? Why the fuck is he talking when I'm the reason why you went to Africa? So I was down outside, I was asleep. Here's what we're going to do. So after all that, at the next luncheon, because they had an annual luncheon, I'm sitting at the head table with the board members and all of that. From the stage, he says, I want to thank Mel Green, Chris Sanchez, and Dr. Donna for supporting the Africa Trade Mission. That was it. That was the amount of credit for the many, many meetings and all kind of everything So it was at that point in February 2017 where I said, yeah, I'm about to be done with this. So I finished my term as the president of Lunchtime Talkers. I left and I did not look back because it was bad. So yeah, help your people. Got it. Lesson learned. Still didn't jade me. I'm still helping people. I'm just not helping that group of people anymore. So nonprofit, schmonprofit. Not going to do the work. And they presented themselves as if they were competent and they were going to be able to do that work at that high level. So no technical competence over there. But the person that's running the chamber just commented on the video, and I told her, I talk about her because she was still administrator. Her and the business manager at the time, they didn't have a lot of decision-making power, so this has nothing to do with them. It was the leadership that was in charge at that time. So yeah, but she's running it now, thanks to Toastmasters and taking risk in my leadership. That's why I spot, because if it was left up to them, she wasn't never gonna be running shit. All right, so here are the daily actions, and drink water. Drink water. And then I will give you the daily actions to build your technical competence. So study the fundamentals daily, not occasionally. You need to be on the chat every single day. I don't give a fuck if you fell asleep. I don't care if you had to work. No one is busier than me. No one is busier than me. The chat is there because you might not be able to attend the live, and I understand that. And the good news is that's why they're on replay. People have jobs, people have school, people have work, people have family responsibilities. I understand that at this time. And there's no time that works for everybody because we're all in different time zones. But you have time to go to the Real Leader Chat every day. And some of you on here right now are not in there every day. How are you going to learn how to use your brain? The neural reps happen inside of the Real Leader broadcast channel. And this isn't a matter of if I respond to you or not. You're there for you. The answer, when you answer the question, is your neural rep. At a minimum, I like to let you know I saw what you said. When I have time, I respond. But I'm the one putting the content in there. Nola's putting some in there, but I made the content. I put the content in there. I did my part. And y'all ain't doing y'all part. How are you going to get your neural reps in? I don't know with being unsubscribed if I will still be able to connect in there. You can check and see, Nola. You should be able to because your membership is already paid for. Or if it's over, then I can do it because it's sunsetting. You focus on TikTok. So you're on here today, and I appreciate the messages saying I forgot, but you messing up your own technical competence. You're not in there for me. And we talked about that yesterday. This is self-leadership, this personal accountability. There is nothing more important than you strengthening your brain. Your brain strong keeps you healthy, keeps you high functioning, keeps you with the ability to be able to be a bad mofo in your day-to-day life. So this sporadic, I'm a comment, I'm not, I'm in, I forgot. You saying you're not a priority. You're not building your technical competence because you are not in there every day. And I'm in there every day. And I got the strongest prefrontal cortex out of everybody. But I'm still in there every day. By the time, if you look at it this way, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. By 6:30 in the morning, I have already, most days, posted in there already recorded the PA for the day, the Real Leader Brain for the day, and I have done 2 lives by 6:30 in the morning. It's people on the West Coast that's not even up at 6:30 in the morning. And you can't go in there for yourself and respond to one question and watch the stories. How you plan on strengthening your prefrontal cortex? Make that math make sense. Help me understand. You wasn't sitting waiting on a doctor's appointment. You wasn't standing somewhere and you didn't have 5 minutes for yourself to answer a question that's going to create a new synaptic connection and a new neural pathway for you. You forgot. Something got your attention in 17 hours in that day. It just wasn't you. You made not strengthening your prefrontal cortex a non-priority for you. I'm leading by example. I'm providing coaching, and you're not being coachable. Those are 3 principles of real leadership. Keep your word. You signed up and subscribed, and then you have lackluster performance. So for those of you that are on here today, right now, that haven't been answering in the Real Leader Chat, because that's what your subscription is for, go ahead and let the group know what was more important than you strengthening your prefrontal cortex. Because it's in your daily. It's in your daily is how you learn how to become personally accountable. It's in your daily is how you strengthen your prefrontal cortex. Because Amy and Lala doing their job. They're working overtime. The doggone basal ganglia is they stronger than a motherfucker. Because I was gonna send messages. I said I ain't sending no message. That's making me do even more than I'm already fucking doing. You forgot about strengthening your prefrontal cortex? Help me understand how that makes sense. Is this thing on? I'm trying to make me a priority. Okay. How you going to use your brain to navigate through your day when you're not strengthening your brain? I never seen weak muscles do strong shit. I never seen somebody that can't pick up a 2-pound weight pick up a 50-pound weight. I never seen it happen. Not one day. None of the times I had gym memberships when I was in the Army or nothing else. The neural reps happen daily. Answering a poll question is strengthening your prefrontal cortex, because what it's doing is it's taking you out of the limbic lobe, which is in the temporal lobe, which is a small lobe inside of a bigger lobe. It's having you focus back on you and your brain. It's strengthening the prefrontal cortex so that when Amy and Lala try to pop off, they can't send the cortisol through the ACC. That's what it's doing. It seems like it's just a poll question. What's the big deal? It seems like it's just a prompt. And I've been answering Dr. Donna, and you haven't been answering me. It's personal accountability. It's not homework, it's neural work. I did my part. I put the question in there for you to consider, for you to think about it, because then it becomes your own natural reward loop. It's the natural release of dopamine. It's for you to assess yourself. It's for you to say, well, damn, what kind of tree would I be? Let me go research some trees. Now you know. Now that's there. I'm thinking about myself. I'm making myself a priority every day. I'm making my prefrontal cortex strengthening my priority before anything else. Because without a strong prefrontal cortex, everything else you do is weak. Everything else you do is inconsistent. Everything else you do, it's not going to work, because you're going to get to a different part of your day and not be able to navigate through it because you got a weak prefrontal cortex. I asked the people that's on here now that ain't been in the chat why you ain't been responding, and I don't see your answers right now. Where you been? I'm going to move on, but don't answer. Answer. Don't not answer. Where you been? Why you ain't been showing up for your brain? What took precedence over your prefrontal cortex? It's in your daily. Answer me. Practice with repetition until you can do it without notes. There are parts of the brain that I can talk about and I don't have to look down. I know more about the brain today than I did on November 2nd when I started studying the brain. Ask experts to correct you. Do not self-assess. Somebody that's already been doing it longer than you at a best level. Are the comments broken? Ask experts to correct you. Do not self-assess. So people that already know how to get it done, getting it done. That's who gives you on-the-spot corrections. A term I learned when I was in the military. You rebuild from mistakes, you don't hide them. You rebuild from mistakes, you don't hide them. I did not know how to say dopaminergic. I did not know how to say adenosine. Okay. Run drills under time, pressure, or constraints. So sometimes I see if I can get the content done before I get on live. But if I want to say something, I want to record something, and I'm down to 20 minutes, I got to pick. Do I pee, get my tea or coffee, and practice what I need to say on live, or do I put that information in there? And oh, by the way, the TikTok live topic is not the same topic as the YouTube live. 2 different topics, back to back, because I'm challenging myself. I don't even flip-flop. I don't take what I'm saying today and make that the topic for TikTok tomorrow. They're 2 different topics. You got people right here, Bridget, Jared, and Daisy are on both lives. They're not the same topic. 2 totally different topics for over an hour on both platforms. Envy is not the only person that has not been responding in the chats daily. So you put yourself under pressure and time constraints. That's what we used to do in the military. When I was the EPW platoon, we would time ourselves when we were in the field to see how fast we could put up a GP medium. That's a tent used to house EPWs, and we did it in under 5 minutes. So you track proof of execution, not opinions. Receipts. 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 When I say I've done something, I've done it at the highest level, or I haven't done it, or I'm operating to that. Right now, I'm studying the brain at the highest level of the information that is available to me on the daily basis. And I present that information in real time, which is something that isn't possible for most people because they're technically incompetent. So teach someone else what you know. Oh. So study the brain, master the brain, teach others to do the same. Mastery shows up when you can explain and defend it. So study the brain, master the brain, teach others to do the same so the people in the world will forever be changed. Got it. Roger that. So technical competence. I had to go research to get my answer together. I will be answering the question I researched today. Are you saying you're sending me a chat answer? Is that what you're saying, Bridget? So that's technical competence. Let me go ahead and drink water. I got to look at my notes to see, right, brain regions for taking risks, because this was from the other day. So it's way down. So take risk is one of the 74 principles of real leadership, and you use 7 regions to take risk. And those 7 regions are the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the prefrontal cortex, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, the anterior cingulate cortex, the amygdala, the striatum, and the basal ganglia together, and the insula. The reason why you're taking risk every day is because when you take a risk, you quiet the fear. When you take a risk, you quiet the fear. Every day, the amygdala is left and right, and the basal ganglia are seeking comfort and safety. They're hardwired for negativity bias. And the only way to combat that is to take risk. The only way to do that is to challenge yourself and strengthen your prefrontal cortex. There is no other way. If there were another way, then I would tell you what that other alternative way is. But the brain is hardwired for comfort, predictability, and safety, and assuming everything is a threat so that you sit your ass down and do absolutely nothing. That's what it's hardwired for. I am telling you, you have to do this work. I did the work. I've been doing the work for 12 years and continue to do the work. You have to do the work. And based upon what we learned yesterday about why you have never been taught about your brain, no one fucking cares if you learn how to use your brain. Because the less you know how to use it, the more you can be used. The less you know how to use it, the more you can be used. No, I'm going to go on IG to answer that one. That one what? You're going to go on IG to answer what? So you don't know how your brain functions. I do. I'm telling you how it functions so you can start functioning better. I hate that everything is considered a threat. Everything. Because it keeps you scared. It keeps you in brain fog. If everything is a threat, you can't think clearly. And the only way to think clearly is to start thinking. And the only way to do that is to keep access to your prefrontal cortex available to you throughout your day. That's why the posts occur throughout your day. That's why the stories occur throughout your day, twice a day when we're busy, sometimes 3 times a day when I can get back to my phone. But they're there twice a day for you to interact with. And oh, by the way, if you're really feeling froggy, there are 100 highlights and there are 16,000 Instagram posts and there are 12,000 videos on YouTube. So you don't even have to wait for today's information because there's 12,000 videos available. There are options available to you. You can pick a highlight and go in there and click, 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 click. The fear gets in my way sometimes. Okay. It gets in everybody's way. That's why nobody is unique in that regard. Everybody has a left and right amygdala and the basal ganglia and wired for negativity bias. We all got that. Even in the doggone mentally ill brain. Everybody got it because we've just been passing it down for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So that's why you take a risk. The tree question. Got it. If you were in the chat daily, then that was yesterday. There are 2 to 3 days where here's the thing. Nola put a question in there about the brain region, and that question sat there until I think Sean or Regina was the first person to answer the question. And y'all didn't get another question that day. You want to know why? Because I sit here on this live every day talking about the brain. I told y'all to follow the Real Leader Brain on Instagram. Or Nola did. Every day. And nobody answered that question. Not enough people. And then the answers that were there was, I don't know. So as an educator who's talking about the brain every day, that was quite telling. So then I started asking questions on the Real Leader Brain Instagram page about parts of the brain. Because that's not the part that's registering. But if you don't know how the brain functions and you don't know what the ventral medial prefrontal cortex does, and you don't know what the amygdala left and right do, and you don't know what the basal ganglia does, or the ACC or the insula, these are the things that you use day in and day out. How you going to do something about it? How you going to know that if you end up with a hijacked amygdala, that you allowed the twins to walk past the ACC and enter into, or cortisol, and enter into the prefrontal cortex, shut down your executive function, and that's why you slap the shit out of somebody? You know, say, God, how did that cortisol get all the way? Miss Brenda was not at her desk because Miss Brenda Jones is the executive administrator. She's the ACC for the prefrontal cortex. And don't nobody get past Miss Brenda Jones. Y'all must have caught her going to the bathroom. That's how that cortisol gets up there. If you don't know that cortisol is released in the limbic lobe, inside of the temporal lobe, and then goes to the hippocampus to remind you of some bad shit and gets you nice and scared, and the insula is like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then the next thing you know, you sitting in a corner somewhere watching crime shows and listening to gospel music, in my case, which I have done neither since I went on Scream Time. If you don't know why that's happening, it won't matter when you go get some SBA loan. It won't matter when you go get a line of credit. It won't matter when you start your business. It won't matter when you get your certification, because you have emotional dysregulation. And when they get scared, you're going to lose access to your executive function. And the only way to strengthen that is to be in the chat. And you don't strengthen it by going in there every day saying, I'm going to strengthen your prefrontal cortex. I'm going to strengthen your prefrontal cortex. You want to know why? Because what Amy and Lala and the basal ganglia here is change, 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 threat, 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 threat. But if I say, if you were a tree, what type of tree would you be? They're not paying attention to that. What the fuck? But you got to think about it. And you got to think about why you would be that tree. And so what you did was you problem solved. What you did was you actually innovated. What you did was self-reflection, because that's your personality, and your personality resides in your prefrontal cortex. And you had to think, so you used cognition to answer that one question. And they thought you was literally figuring out what fucking kind of tree you was going to be. So you strengthen 4 different parts of your prefrontal cortex by answering a question about being a tree. Now, if I said you're going to use 4 brain regions to answer this question about the tree, first of all, you would have got scared. And Amy and Lala would have shut that shit down and said, don't answer that question. This bitch crazy as hell. Why the fuck is she talking about you being a tree? I thought she was trying to teach you about the brain. And all this doubt and shit would have came in. And then this cortisol. See, this the last time. Now they had your ass burning plates. And now you out here in the coffee sniffing leaves. And now she over here asking you if you was a tree. None of this shit don't work. This is why we need to stay safe and stay the same. You too, Jared. So that's why you have to do the work, because I know what part of the brain you're using to do those things. I know if you're using auditory or not. I know if you're using your occipital lobe to see what you see. That's the whole purpose. And then I got to re-explain this again. I'm not really a happy camper right now. The fact that I got to remind you to strengthen your prefrontal cortex says that you're being personally unaccountable on a daily basis. And some of you are on your way to getting a closeout survey, because you're not taking this seriously. And as I mentioned, just because you pay don't mean you get to stay. You're wasting my time. I'm not going to keep putting energy into some shit and you're not present. You're going to go. Do the work or leave. You came to my virtual door. I didn't come to yours. Well, I just wouldn't. If you're not a priority and you don't want to be a real leader and you don't want to be personally accountable, I'm cool with that. But you're not going to lukewarm this shit. You're not going to straddle the fence with this. You're not going to be one day in, one day out, one day in, one day out when it fits your schedule. I don't have to fit your schedule. I'm okay. I done been on lives talking to myself before. But what we will not do is have you acting like you being a real leader. Some of you won't make it to TikTok. To close out, what have you learned today? What have you learned about yourself? And what did you learn about the brain? And then you're not having your brain conversations. And when I get to that part, you say what you learned, and then somehow you miss the brain conversation. I'm paying attention to that too. This is a privilege. It's not a right. So I'm asking, what did you learn today? What did you learn about yourself? And what was your brain conversation yesterday? And it is unacceptable to have said, I didn't have one. Why not? Why the fuck are you here then? Why are you here if you can't have a brain conversation with yourself, with someone online, with a stranger, with a family member? Why are you here? I am not something to do. Real leadership is something that you become. It's something that you use every day. I've worked entirely too hard to be having this conversation right now. I was working on I was doing that. You're not doing me no favors. You're going to find yourself gone, and you're going to find yourself 6 months from now needing to be able to use your brain, and you're not going to be able to because you prioritize comfort over discomfort. That's what you did. Because you see it as, oh, nothing's going left, so I don't need my real leadership. Okay. Until you do. Everything's going better now. Everything is better. I've seen this a gazillion times. Daisy said, what I've learned today is that I need to have more brain conversations with myself. Nola said, I learned about myself was being technically competent, tested, and didn't think I was. Because it makes no sense. We talked about this yesterday. Adults are not taught how to use their brain. So this curriculum feels foreign to you. Yesterday was the word. Autocorrect. Yes. And so it feels foreign. It's like, well, that's not necessary. That doesn't really feel like effort. That doesn't feel sexy to me. I don't have to do that. Yes, you do. Or you don't have to be here. Unlike everybody else who wants to use you as a follower to get a bag, that's not why I'm here. This is my life's work. And either you will participate fully, completely, and be engaged, or you can go away. I will not be policing you up. I am not the teacher in school in the hallway telling you to get to class. That's on you. I learned more about being technically competent. Envy learned about myself that I need to make an actual strategy to be consistent in chat since I'm not getting it done right. Exactly. And Envy, you were able to come back because you were gone. You asked to come back. So the fact that you're not present every day, I learned that they just started learning about the brain less than 20 years ago. You have never met somebody like me before, and I'm serious about mine and the work that I am doing. And you will either do the work or you will go do something else. But you will not half-ass do real leadership. You will become it. And I can't iterate it enough that this is how you go and do everything else that you want to do in life. It's like trying to get a bachelor's degree without going through K through 12. It's not going to happen. You need the foundation, the adult foundation and the neurological foundation so you can go do extraordinary shit. And help me help you understand why you don't understand that. Nola, my brain conversations were reflecting about how much my brain has outgrown a lot of different things and how I am working to expand to higher levels. Bridget, I learned about myself. I need to answer my IG questions in a more timely fashion because I don't want the departure message. Hey. Nobody does. Envy, would you like to enlighten the group on what happens? Because Envy, Jared didn't participate completely before. Jared is gone. Jared said some shit about LeBron James and found himself not having access. And then showing up on TikTok saying, can I have access? And Envy lost access for almost a year. Yes, I know. I'm going to reflect brain dump to figure out if there is a reason besides the excuses. Envy, check your 16 to 19 day mark. That was your issue last year. Count your days. Count your days. 8 days and then 16 to 19 days, because it takes 8 days to create the neural pathway. And then for you, it was between day 16 and 19 that there was a drop off. So go back and look at that. I learned in generally technical competence can mean many things outside of just technology, which I didn't put together. Yes, technical competence is washing the dishes. It is cutting the grass. It is for you, Envy, cleaning out the pool, organizing the garage, because you're doing it. It's a skill set involved in that. Clean out the pool wrong, it's going to be a problem. Don't wash the dishes correctly, it's going to be old food on the dishes, and then you're going to get food poisoning. So it's everything that you do is technical competence, not just the big shit. The reason why I have wigs that's 10 years old is because I'm technically competent in taking care of my hair. I got 14 wig heads. I don't just throw my wigs on the couch, in the car, on the shelf, and then don't brush it and don't dust it off. Wigs cost money, and I need them because I don't have hair. So everything, I take care of my brain. This brain t-shirt is a year old now because of my technical competence to be able to wash and iron my shirts and take care of my things. That's technical competence as well. So we are going to TikTok. And if TikTok doesn't do what it said it was going to do, then we will be on a membership site. And by we, I mean the current group. But as Envy knows, this is not the group that was here this time last year. Envy is the only person that is here from this time last year. Nola wasn't even on lives yet this time last year. I'm still going. That group is gone. I have no problem leaving you where you are. Ask the people who used to be able to call me on my phone. My brain conversation was with my mom. We were working on the pile of donations and was having the cluttered home equals cluttered life equals cluttered mind combo. There you go. Daisy and Bridget, what were your brain conversations yesterday? And Regina is listening, and I know why, and Lola is at work. I know why. Jared is gone. So what's also happening, I had a brain conversation again with my aunt. I have finally got her to realize her cognitive ability is declining. Also had a conversation with myself about focus. Kudos to you for the conversation with your aunt. That's wonderful. She is silent generation, right? So I understand that you all are not accustomed to this standard of excellence in every area of your life. I recognize that, but I don't have any empathy for that because I'm telling you that it needs to be done. I'm telling you how to get it done too. So I'm not just telling you it needs to be done. I'm saying this is how you get it done because the world needs what you have, and we can't get to that because you don't have a strong prefrontal cortex and emotional regulation. That's why. Envy, you about to be a CNA. The world needs what you got. Bridget, you working on holistic healing based upon how many times you wasn't supposed to be here. And you can't get to that because of emotional dysregulation, because of inconsistency, envy. That's what you hear in my voice is the sternness. We can't get what y'all need because y'all ain't doing the work to become the brain people that you need. You're not strengthening your brain to become technically competent to be a bad motherfucker. So we don't have what y'all got because we can't access it because you ain't accessing it. You're not strengthening it. So we don't have it. How would y'all feel if I still worked at Frito-Lay and I was the senior VP of some dumb shit, supply chain? And now you out here trying to figure shit out, and I decided to keep. I said, you got in your brain what the world needs, and we can't access it because you don't have a strong prefrontal cortex. So you can't think clearly enough to get it to the rest of the world, the people in the world that need it. And envy is working on being a CNA. Both of y'all have things that the world need. Everybody does, but I'm talking to y'all two in particular right now. You literally have answers for people and procedures and a care that is not being given because of a weak prefrontal cortex and emotional dysregulation on a daily basis. My brain conversation yesterday was what I needed to keep abreast of all my brain work so that I could be technically competent. So I'm not saying that you're there yet, but you ain't never going to get there sporadically. You're never going to get there unless you focus on it every single day. Every single day. It's every single day. It's every single day. And what you hear in my voice is because you're not making you a priority in your life. You're not making learning how your brain functions so you can function better the number one priority in your life. You need your brain to do everything that you do every day. You can't do anything without your brain. I never seen somebody without a brain do that. We might think they ain't got a brain, but I ain't never seen nobody not use their brain to do right now. You talk blinking. It takes 10 brain regions for you to blink, just to blink. And I don't know what to do for you to understand how important cognitive strengthening is on a daily basis. It is the most important thing that you do. It's more important than your health because if you don't take care of your brain, you can't be healthy. If you don't strengthen your brain can't function to do anything else that it needs to do at a high level. Nothing. You can't make the right food choices without a strong brain consistently. You're going to have clutter. Envy just said it. Envy cleaned up that garage. It was spotless last year. And now they got to work through that again. Something is going to fall, and your prefrontal cortex, which is your working memory, which is what you use to navigate through your day, is not going to be strong enough. And then you're going to get tired and you're going to say, fuck it, I'm tired. I just need a break. Let me go get some comfort for a minute. I've been at this for too long. And you haven't. You just have cognitive overload. And the fact that you, at this point, still don't understand that you are the number one priority in your life, you put that oxygen mask on you. Your brain needs oxygen all damn day long. And you focus on other stuff, not the brain. I cannot tell you directly what to do because your amygdala and your basal ganglia, as long as you are emotionally dysregulated, can't hear me. So it shows up as me looking like something different. It shows up as me saying, you know what, don't make no doggone sense. Because I have to get past them. I have to get past them and get through to the prefrontal cortex. I checked my days. I'm at 44 since returning. Something's not adding up, and I'm making it a plan. I'm making a plan regardless. Okay, got it. So something what you can check on, Envy, to get you started is the insula. So how does being in the chat make you feel? Because it's based upon that. Feeling like it because you still have emotional dysregulation. So being in that feels like what? What does that feel like? And send me your summary. What does it feel like? Because that's what's stopping you from doing it consistently. And it's daily. And what you'll also find, and if you have to go, I understand, but this needs to be recorded. What you will also find is that you're inconsistent because having to do something every single day is difficult. That's a habit. I do things 3 times a day. I do 3 times a week, 5 times a week, but this is every single day, no matter what's going on, it's in your daily. And that's challenging to do. That's why I said I'm the baddest motherfucker walking the face of the planet Earth. People getting ready to tap out November 1st, and they're not going to tap back in until January 2nd. They're going to tap out for 61 days. Talk about putting in work. Put in work. You're not putting in work. If you're not doing it daily, it ain't working. I'm technically competent in a lot of areas because of the daily work that I do. And still counting. Not resting on my laurels from some shit I did 10 years ago. So it is difficult. And if you don't admit, fuck, I got to do this shit every day. Yep. And there's no immediate gratification. Nope. You're just going to wake up one day. When you do it every day, you're going to wake up one day and shit just going to be clear. Just going to be clear as hell. All kind of stuff that you couldn't see before and didn't make sense. You're going to be connecting motherfucking dots and shit. And you're going to be like, why is that way? What the hell why am I? It's going to be all this self-reflection happening in default mode network. And it's just going to feel like it's overnight, but it's going to be over time. It's going to be consistent day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. And you haven't been taught this as an adult, and I understand that. But I will not tolerate inconsistency. That's not something, because you need your brain to be strong as shit. I will conduct research on that today. But actually being in the chat consistently has been a challenge for me, and it harms my working memory. I need to up my game. And if you need to have a stern talking to yourself, Envy, I'm just throwing things out there that could potentially be putting things out there that could potentially be taking place for you based upon your performance last year. That's all I'm doing. If it's not that, brain dump. And let me know. Send me a message and let me know what the summary is. And for you too as well, Bridget, what is taking place that you are inconsistent. And I know it's hard. That ain't enough. Go into your brain and see what's happening neurologically, because that's what's stopping you. Your brain is stopping you from strengthening your prefrontal cortex. Why? Because it wants comfort. So what's taking place to stop you and create discomfort on a daily basis? That's what you need to assess, because that's what's taking place. So y'all got grace right now, but grace runs out too. Got to do the work. Sweat equity, neurological sweat equity. All right. I will be back tomorrow, God willing, higher power and the universe. Again, do not renew your Instagram subscription. Cancel it. And when it is up, go switch to TikTok. Should you decide to do that ahead of time, we are over there building things up over there. And if TikTok says they don't do what they said they was going to do, no problem. We are also looking into membership sites as well, because this work will be done. Can makes the impossible possible. So we will have a platform where we will be free to strengthen our prefrontal cortex, study the brain, master the brain, teach others how to do the same, and become real leaders so our lives can be extremely extraordinary on the day-to-day basis. You all go off and spend your time in your default mode network, which is your time alone, self-reflecting, really thinking about your brain. It is the central processing unit for your entire body. And the executive function is the CEO. It's the command center for everything else. That's how you navigate throughout your day. If that's weak, your day is going to be weak. If it's dysregulated, your day is going to be dysregulated. That's the best way I can explain it until you get more new neural pathways that you create so that the things I'm saying make more and more and more and more and more sense. Right now it's foreign. And as always, if you have questions, you don't understand something, ask me. Send me a message in the chat. I will explain to you why I'm saying what I'm saying and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because I guarantee you that when you answered, for the people who answered that tree question, you had no idea that 4 different regions of the brain were operating for you to answer that question. Trust the process because it works. All right, you all go off and have a brain-tastic day. Take care.